Hello and welcome into Sports Scene 2.0. I'm Stephanie Haugh, joined here with Kyle Popovich. We have a lot to talk about today. We talk from the NFL to the MLB to the NBA to the NCAA. We'll be right back with your Sports Scene 2.0 right after this. Welcome back to Sports Talk Live, not Sports Scene. We're going to go ahead and get started with the NFL, the big good old gridiron, and we're going to start with the undefeated Green Bay Packers. Kyle, what do you think about the undefeated Green Bay Packers right now?
Well, when you say undefeated, you think best in the league, and that's what Green Bay is. I mean, with key injuries, especially at wide receiver, you've seen Jordy Nelson go down early on in the preseason. He's on the IR. And then you see guys like Devontae Adams and Ty Montgomery. They're starting to get hurt, but that's where Mike McCarthy comes in. You know, the coaching staff can get the younger guys developed. You got guys like Jeff Janis. You got Randall Cobb still there at the number one. James Jones, the surprise free agent signing, who seemed lost after his stints with Oakland and a short stint with New York Giants. I mean, he's come along. Him and Aaron Rodgers have not lost a beat ever since they parted ways after the 2013 season. They've really come along. Another key to the Packers' success this year is their defense. You've seen key injuries at inside linebacker. Again, that moves Clay Matthews inside, which isn't his natural position, but he still makes it work. And that gives guys like Mike Neal more opportunities on the outside, and he's taking advantage of them. I mean, you see him, he's always out there. He's always around the ball, whether it be rushing the passer or stopping the run. He's somebody who's really stepped up this season for that defense, and they really needed that. Yeah,
I think you said it pretty well. The defense for the Packers is really pulling through for them. I mean, I've seen a few games where they haven't played that well offensively, but still managed to win thanks to their defense. Sticking with undefeated then, who do you think is going to beat the Packers this season?
I think that's up for grabs. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a division foe. You see the Vikings, I mean, they're still a struggling team, but they're 3-2, but I mean, their defense is really coming along. That's, second-year head coach Mike Zimmer. That's his ability coming from Cincinnati. Being a defensive coordinator before this head coaching stint, I mean, he's somebody who can really rally that defense. They have some great cornerbacks on that team with Captain Munnerlyn, Xavier Rhodes, just some young guys. And I think they might have the better chance within the division. Outside the division, I mean, it's up in the air. We've seen surprises. You look back to the 2011 season where the Packers were on a roll. They were undefeated. And they took on Kyle Orton and the Chiefs, which knocked them off. So I think it's somebody that you may not expect, maybe a lower team. I'm not going to say the Packers will take them for granted, but you'll never know.
I really like how you said the Packers could possibly lose to the Vikings, because I also think that the Vikings are going to be a potential loss for the Green Bay Packers. As you said, the one thing I'm surprised with right now with the Vikings is Adrian Peterson is not doing as well as I expected him to do. I was expecting a revenge season from last year. I was expecting 100 yards or more by now. I mean, he's got that, but I'm just saying, at least a 100-yard game. But I'm actually kind of disappointed in the Vikings right now, but they absolutely have the potential of beating Green Bay Packers. And the Packers are actually going into the bye week. Coming out of the bye week, they have Denver, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, as the Bears take on the Minnesota Vikings. Switching over to NFC North, we saw Chicago and Detroit play a very, very close game this past Sunday. A lot of controversy came out of that game. I don't know if you saw. The NFL, it's got to be determined in the rule book and very clear about what a catch is. If you guys didn't see it, it was a play with Golden Tate, catches the ball, takes about 2 steps, barely gets over the end zone, and the ball comes out. By rule, that should be a fumble. You need 3 steps to become a runner. And he does not take that. It was initially ruled an interception for the Bears, which possibly could have changed the outcome of the game. But the head crew of the Bears-Lions game really switched it around. They called it a touchdown. That raised a lot of eyebrows. That has put a lot of people within the NFL representatives just kind of on the hot seat, because now it comes down to another controversial call.
Agree. And if I remember watching that, and there was no actual clarification of why it was ruled a catch over a fumble. It was just call stands, and that was it. I think as a referee, there should have been more clarification to the rule. Can't say I'm a Lions or a Bears fan, but I mean, that hurt the Bears. I honestly think that hurt the Bears. I mean, they still managed to get into overtime with that game, which actually surprised me quite a bit too.
Oh yeah, I mean, with being a Cubs fan, that makes me a Bears fan. And it was a little frustrating to witness that. I'm not going to be totally biased just because I'm a Bears fan, but that's something that the NFL has to clear up. I think it was 2 weeks ago we saw a similar situation with Detroit and Seattle. Calvin Johnson got to the goal line. He fumbled the ball, and you saw Bobby Wagner knock the ball out incidentally. Now, that should be, by rule, a Detroit ball at the 1, but instead they give it a touchback at the 20. I mean, the NFL, this isn't replacement refs. This isn't what we were dealing with 3 years ago. This is a new situation that needs to be kind of investigated, if you want to say.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's definitely not the first missed call of the season either. I can't personally name a specific situation, but I know that I've been on Twitter, Facebook, sports forums that have mentioned that the NFL referees are missing quite a few calls this year. I don't know what's going on with them, but come on, refs, get it together here. We want football. You're not the replacement refs, as Kyle said. Those are long gone. Let's go ahead and keep talking about the other NFL unbeatens. I mean, we got the Patriots, the Bengals, the Broncos, the Carolina Panthers, I think, are also undefeated, if I remember correctly, which actually surprises me.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely my surprise team. I mean, these guys lost key receiver Kelvin Benjamin in the beginning of the year to a torn ACL. We saw their offensive line go through some injuries. They were very thin, but yet they're 5-0. They just took down the Seattle Seahawks. As I'll talk on them just a little bit later on the surprising teams. But, I mean, Carolina came over some adversity this season, already starting 5-0. I mean, they weren't expected to go too far. Cam Newton's been in question whether he is a franchise quarterback. And all of a sudden, he just keeps stepping up his game. Granted, that defense, behind him is one of the best in the league.
And I think he's proving that he can be a franchise quarterback. I think can't quite say the best, but I think he's proving that he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep it up, Cam. I mean, the big game from this week that I know a lot of people was Sunday night football between the Colts and the Patriots. Lots of controversy as the Colts were the team that called out the Patriots in the, what was that called?
Post-game interview.
Yeah, whatever it was about the Deflategate, which started all the Deflategate situations. So there was a big rivalry. I can't talk today. A big rivalry between those two teams.
Yeah, it all started, we know, in the postseason last year. That's when the Deflategate kind of came up. Indianapolis players were noticing that the balls were deflated, but I mean, that's just a rivalry. It's been a rivalry ever since Andrew Luck entered the league. He's had troubles getting past Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. In the beginning, it looked like he was going to have a chance to beat him. I mean, the offense was rolling, but I mean, that New England defense, that's the reason why they're one of the best in the NFL. They, too, are also 5-0, and it shows why. I mean, we're not going to talk about the Colts' special teams play. That was just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it because why would you snap the ball when you only have two people on the line?
Exactly.
I mean, let's be real here, Colts. I don't even know why you even considered doing that. Yeah, I mean, just a little stuff that I know about before the Colts-Patriots game, too. I know there's a lot of backlash about the Patriots being called cheaters, all these pre-cheater meals. I think the Colts went in looking for revenge, as always. I mean, it is one of the biggest rivalries in the NFL on top of it. But they went in looking for revenge from the last postseason. And I think they showed that they had that, but they weren't able to prove that they had that revenge.
No, it was definitely a task at hand to take on the undefeated New England Patriots. Another thing that was kind of against Indianapolis is they were just getting Andrew Luck back. I mean, he's had some shoulder problems this year. Veteran Matt Hasselbeck has stepped in very well in those situations, but just trying to get Andrew Luck back in the offense, get him in rhythm. I mean, people think, because, you come back from injury, you're going to put on a show. I mean, it takes practice. You need to get these multiple reps with your players in practice. And when you're missing those key reps during those key practices, that's going to come back and haunt you on the field.
Yeah. Another unbeaten team that I also kind of have as a surprise team as well are the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning isn't really playing up to Peyton Manning level. I mean, he's not that good this season.
No, his age is definitely showing, but a little bit more of his shoulder injuries. We've seen that. We see a little bit of dip in velocity, so the accuracy really has to step up in this game. But I think one thing for Denver, a position of need for them to continue this success, is tight end. I mean, Owen Daniels, the new free agent signing, coming over, who knows Gary Kubiak's offense. He's not performing up to par. So it's one of those that they need to look at. I know there have been some rumors that San Francisco's shopping Vernon Davis, who was a former All-Star tight end, or Pro Bowl tight end. So that'll be interesting if they decide to go on the trade route.
That will be very interesting.
Or if they just want to stick in-house.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, we've kind of covered all the unbeatens. Let's move on to struggling teams in the NFL. And I think the biggest surprise right now are the Seattle Seahawks. They are not hot this season at all.
No, they're 2-4. They lost key defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, who is now the head coach of the Falcons. That is shown as a negative. Their defense just isn't the same. They're 2-4, and their 2 wins came against a Detroit game, which I spoke previously about. That was a very close game. And they also shut out the Chicago Bears, who were starting a Jimmy Clausen, who obviously shows that he is not a capable NFL starter, possibly a capable NFL backup. But, I mean, those 2 wins aren't impressive. And coming from a team that has just came off 2 consecutive Super Bowl appearances, there needs to be more out of it. And their offense also isn't in sync, if you want to say. Marshawn Lynch has been dealing with some injuries. Same with newly acquired Fred Jackson, so that affects them. But they have a lot of things going against them, but I still wouldn't be surprised if they end up turning it around.
Yeah, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see if they do turn that around. Sticking with the struggling teams, 2 other teams that I had as struggling teams are the 49ers and the Saints. Those 2 teams have been known powerhouses, and they're like second to last and last in their conferences. What do you think about those?
Well, I think the thing that's hurting the 49ers the most is the loss of Jim Harbaugh. I mean, 49ers executives wanted him, if you want to say, out of the head coaching position. So he moved on to Michigan, and they're just not in the same rhythm. Obviously, we've seen the effect that he can have on Colin Kaepernick as a quarterback, who recently stated that he doesn't care about mechanics. And that's one of the most important things you need as a quarterback is your mechanics. He stated as long as the ball gets to the receiver, that's all he cares about. Those are comments you don't want to hear from a professional quarterback who should have professional mechanics, if you want to say. He throws a little bit like a baseball player with 3/4 arm. But, I mean, it's something that needs to step up. Saints, obviously, Sean Payton's time might be running out in New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a quick break, though. We're going to come back and we're going to actually talk about some of our surprise teams we have in the NFL, and we also have some MLB talk. Stick with us. Perfect Pets is coming at you.
My name is Sissy. I'm a Yorkshire Terrier. I may be 11 years old, but my cuteness makes up for it.
The name is Hollows. What you see is what you get.
Hi, my name is Flash, and I'm a handsome 6-year-old border collie with very good manners, and I need a home.
Hey, I'm Warren. I've only been in this world for 8 weeks, but I'm sure that one of these days my future family is going to come and take me home.
To find out more about adoption for these pets or others, contact the Cooley Region Humane Society at 781-4014.
Again, the phone number for the Cooley Region Humane Society is 781-4014. Welcome back to Sports Talk Live. We're going to go ahead, as we mentioned, we're going to start talking about the surprise teams in the NFL, and I'm going to my Vikings. I'm a Vikings fan. They are surprising me this season. I mean, they had a remarkable preseason, and they may not be undefeated, but they are doing a lot better than they were last season. And I know there are other surprise teams, but the Vikings are my #1 surprise team. I think they have the potential of beating the Packers. They have a potential playoff run if they just keep doing what they're doing and Adrian Peterson gets his head in the game.
Yeah, Viking, I surely think they're in a spot to capture a wild card seed for the NFC. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I mean, that defense has worked wonders with Mike Zimmer, as I said, but I think my surprise team of the year is going to go to the New York Jets. I mean, they're a team that's been in quarterback scramble for a couple of years. Geno Smith wasn't the answer. All of a sudden, veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in. The Jets are sitting 4-1. I mean, Brandon Marshall, acquired from the Chicago Bears this offseason, has had 4 consecutive 100-yard receiving games. That's the first time a Jets receiver has done that since 1968. I mean, that's a huge feat for a team that has been looking to rebound for years, and especially after losing Rex Ryan. There were thoughts that they wouldn't be able to compete at the same level. All of a sudden, Todd Bowles comes over, former DC of the Arizona Cardinals. You get Darrelle Revis back on that defense, Antonio Cromartie, some key free agent signings, and they're right back up there in that division.
I agree with the Jets. I don't even know why I didn't think about the Jets before, mostly because as a Vikings fan, I'm more thrilled for the successful season we've had so far this year. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move from the gridiron and we're going to go to the diamond and we're going to talk MLB playoffs. I'm a little salty to this guy right here as he's a Cubs fan, but I mean, we're going to first talk about the ALCS between the Blue Jays and the Royals. Now, I know last night I consider a slugfest. I mean, I can't remember the final score. I think it was 11 or 12 to something, if I remember correctly. But what's on your mind with the ALCS?
Well, I thought the Jays would maybe put up a little bit more of the competition in this. They were my prediction to go through the ALCS. We know it's been a long time coming for them, haven't made the playoffs in a while, but I mean, they're similar to what you see in the Cubs and the NLCS. They're a powerhouse. I mean, they're a team that looks for the home runs to get them on the board. I mean, they have Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion, and many more names to read off that should be getting them up there in runs, but the problem is their pitching. David Price acquired through the season along with R.A. Dickey, another big trade back in 2013. I mean, they're just not looking good. I mean, currently, the Jays are down 5-2. R.A. Dickey got pulled out of that game during the 4th inning. I mean, your starter needs to go at least 6 to 7 innings in an LCS game to give your team a chance. And when you fall behind like that, that's going to show some trouble. The Royals are currently up in the series 2-1. I wouldn't be surprised if they capture this game, they capture the series.
Yeah, I just want to do a little reiteration here. As Kyle said, the Royals are up 5-2 in the top of the 5th with no outs, so that's a big game for the ALCS. Let's go ahead and talk our division, the NLCS. First off, the Cubs. The Cubs are, if we had a surprise MLB team, I think the Cubs would be it. I know there's a lot of people out there who are, per se, blaming Back to the Future in their prediction of a Cubs World Series sweep. I'm a little salty. The Cubs beat my Cardinals, but I mean, it was a good series. It was a big slugfest in that divisional series, and the Cubs are up against the Mets right now. And I know this young man wants to talk more about the Cubs.
Oh yeah, yep, got to talk about the Cubs. They're currently down 2-0 in the series. Not the start Cub fans were hoping for, but they have Kyle Hendricks on the mound tonight against Jacob deGrom, who the Cubs have fared well against. I mean, deGrom's 0-2 in his starts, and the Cubs were able to get 4 runs and I believe 7 runs in their 2 games against him. So there's hope there. I mean, the Cubs still aren't out of it. It's a 7-game series, so it's the first one to 4. If the Cubs can capture this game tonight, that'd be huge for the Cubs and the city of Chicago. I mean, this team has been patient with the rebuilding process that's been going on since 2012 when Theo Epstein and company took over the Chicago Cubs. And just the talent they have on their team, young, raw, got to the NLCS, which not many people predicted. I mean, these guys were a 73-win team last year, still kind of in rebuild. All of a sudden, they signed Joe Madden from the Tampa Bay Rays as their NL manager. I mean, you get some key acquisitions, big prospects, Chris Bryant, Addison Russell. I mean, those are some big names we're talking about. Jake Arrieta has come out of nowhere in his pitching performance. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the NL Cy Young. Hopefully he's one of the top nominees for that.
Oh, he'll definitely be, at least in the contention for the NL Cy Young Award. If he's not, I would be shocked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Zach Greinke has had a tremendous performance this season with the Los Angeles Dodgers, but Arrieta really turned on the heat in the second half. And as a Cubs fan, I'd be very disappointed, but as a baseball fan, when you see a guy who has, I think, a .74 ERA from the All-Star break on, I mean, that's unheard of. And to have 2 guys that have a sub 1.85 ERA at the end of the season, you don't see that often. So this is going to be a very close race in the NL Cy Young.
I also don't think, I know the Cubs are down in the series. I don't think that's a matter of worry for them. I don't, if anything, I think it's a more bigger motivation for them to prove to their fans, prove to the city of Chicago, prove to even the nation and whoever it may be that they can come back from this, they're down 2-0 right now in the series, and they can come back and they can make it to the World Series and maybe potentially even win the World Series.
Oh yeah, this team's overcome adversity so many times this season. I mean, first you go into the wild card game against a 98 team win Pittsburgh Pirates, who were the second team in the division in all of baseball record-wise, and then you take them out and also take on the St. Louis Cardinals, who are the best team in the majors, 100 wins. They're similar to the Cubs with the young talent, but also the veterans that can carry the load. And to see the Cubs, they lost the first game, and then they took the rest of them. I mean, to see a young team like that overcome a deficit as such against a NL Central opponent, and to carry on the possible success through the NLCS, that's the fun thing to watch for.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead. Let's move from the diamond to the hardwood floors indoor. We're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the NBA. And I think the big team we're going to focus a little bit more on are the Bucks. Are they a potential playoff contender?
I think they are. I mean, you definitely have Jason Kidd set in stone for the head coaching position, and he's worked wonders with this team. The offense and defensive value that he's brought in just to coach up these players and get them in the right spot to succeed has been huge. Jabari Parker's coming off of a torn ACL. He's in for, I think, a big season. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's going to succeed even further in this Jason Kidd offense with more experience. And then you have the new free agent signee, Greg Monroe, coming over from the Detroit Pistons. This is a guy I really wanted to see in a Bucks uniform since probably last year, seeing that his contract was coming up. I mean, this guy is a big 6'10", 6'11" center that's going to bring an offensive presence to the Milwaukee Bucks that need it. I mean, the starting lineup that you see for the Bucks is amazing with young talent, too. I mean, they have some veterans in there, but the young talent they can put on the floor and still try to fight for a 4th or 5th seed in the Eastern Conference, it's amazing.
It's amazing. All right, let's go ahead. Let's move from the NBA into college football. So we're back to the gridiron. I think one big thing that we wanted to discuss, the Michigan State-Michigan game. All they had to do was punt the ball, and it was over. And they fumbled. Michigan fumbled the ball, and they lost to Michigan State. That was probably the most heartbreaking college football loss I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Blake O'Neal, the Michigan punter, had one job, and it was to punt it away. With the team up 23-21 with 10 seconds, that's all he had to do. Unfortunately, he bobbled it. Jalen Watts-Jackson was able to pick it up for Michigan State and return it for a touchdown. And what's interesting about that play, what many people don't know, is he dislocated his hip after being carried into the end zone by his team. I mean, 2 players landed on him, and that dislocated a hip.
See, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Most people don't think about that, but this is a guy that was really unable to see what success he brought to the team afterwards as he was rushed to the hospital. But, I mean, for Michigan State to rally, that special teams performance right there, I mean, Blake O'Neal, I know he had to punt it, but Michigan State was send and rush. They were all out. That's a great call by the special teams coordinator at Michigan State, and they were able to take the rivalry game.
Yeah, I mean, and sticking with that rivalry, I just can't talk today. Excuse me. Michigan, to even be that close to winning the game for Jim Harbaugh, I think is just pretty remarkable. And it's unfortunate that he had to lose to the biggest rivalry of the season for the Michigan State and Michigan State and Michigan. But, it's whatever. I don't think he should be that disappointed in the performance that Michigan had, because I honestly thought they had a heck of a game.
Oh, yeah, yep. Jim Harbaugh, his team put it all out on the line. There should be nothing to be ashamed of.
All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. We're going to go look at a UWL promo. We'll be right back with Sports Talk Live.
Hey, Eagle fans, WMCM-TV has a brand new sports show. That's right. Join us every Monday and Friday to keep up to date with all the Eagle athletics. We'll recap highlights, talk to coaches and players, and keep you up to date on what's happening around campus. Pretty cool, right? The show that I'm talking about is Eagle Nation. So join the crew every Monday and Friday at 12 p.m. to talk about UWL athletics. So when you think of sports, think of us, Eagle Nation, on WMCM-TV.
Welcome back to Sports Talk Live. Let's go ahead. We're going to play a quick little game. We like to call this game Who you got? And we have three different. We have the MLB, NBA, and NFL. I say a name, or I say a division, whatever, and we say who we got winning them. So let's go ahead. Let's start with the ALCS. Who you got?
I got the Royals in 5, especially with their lead today. That ensures that they're going to take it in 5 games.
All right. Who do you got in the NLCS?
NLCS, I got to go with my Cubs. I think they're going to take it in 7. It's going to be a very tough LCS series, but I think the Cubs rebound, take it in 7 games.
I actually want to kind of rebound off of that. As a Cardinals fan, I hope the Cubs win because I'd rather lose to the champs. So, can't believe I'm saying this. Go Cubs.
Hey, thank you.
World Series. Who you got?
World Series.
Off of the 2 teams we have in there right now, who you got?
Royals, Cubs, I want to take Cubs. I'm not being biased. I think the Cubs, they have too much power. We've seen what the Royals have done pitching-wise against the power, but they also have some on-base guys. Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, young guys. I mean, these guys are 26 years and younger in age, and they're fighting for a World Series, the first appearance for the Cubs since 1945. I think it'll be very interesting. One interesting fact that I found is the last time a team went down 2-0 in the NLCS, as the Cubs are now, and came back to win the series was 1985. It was the Cardinals against the Dodgers. So if the Cubs can break this 30-year curse, if you want to say, I mean,
I think they could. All right, let's go ahead. Let's reverse that. Out of the other 2 teams, the Mets and the Blue Jays, or did you say Blue Jays? No, you said Royals.
Royals, yep.
Yeah, so Blue Jays, Mets. If those 2 teams were to get in, who you got in the?
I have the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays?
Yeah, Mets have a great pitching staff, but I think the Blue Jays bats might just take them away.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's move into the NBA. I know it's early, and I only know NBA season starts next week, but looking ahead from previous seasons or looking from previous seasons ahead, who you got as MVP?
I'm going to take Houston Rockets shooting guard James Harden. I mean, that guy, in my opinion, maybe should have won it last year. He had one heck of a season, and I think he's just going to further improve his game and show why he is the MVP of the league.
If he can keep his hands off Khloe Kardashian, that is. All right, NBA champs.
NBA champs, this one was a tough one, especially coming out of the Western Conference, but I think I'm going to have to take the Spurs. They signed some big guys, David West, LaMarcus Aldridge, in the offseason. And Greg Popovich, I mean, he works wonders. You look at kind of the competition they're going to have coming out of the West with the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's a first-year coach coming in. You look at other teams such as the Bulls and Cleveland. They have first-year coaches and second-year coaches. These are young coaches going against Greg Popovich, who's been in the league for so long. The last 20 years, the Spurs have only had 2 losing seasons. I mean, that says a lot about their team. All
right, let's stick with the NBA a little bit. Who is your stronger rookie this year?
Rookie this year? That one's going to be a close one. I want to go Bulls with Bobby Portis, but he's not going to have a lot of playing time. I think Jahlil Okafor will take it away as the big man down low.
All right, let's move over to the gridiron then. NFL early prediction MVP.
MVP, I got to say Tom Brady. I mean, this guy was supposed to be suspended for the first 6 games of the year, and he's just come out, played tremendous football so far for the New England Patriots. He's led him to an undefeated record, and he's probably one of the most unstoppable quarterbacks in the league with Aaron Rodgers.
See, I would have to say Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a very close toss-up between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. I know. It's always between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, but they are the best quarterbacks. All right, sticking with the NFL, who you got in division champs?
For the NFC North, I'm going to have to say Green Bay. I think they're too hot to stop. I mean, that defense, even though they don't have a lot of big names popping out in the defensive secondary, rookie Demarius Randall out of Arizona State transitions from free safety to cornerback, and he keeps looking more impressive each week. I mean, he is assigned to take on one of the top 2 receivers of the opposing teams, and he just keeps playing man coverage and playing very well for that defense.
Do you think they'll win that undefeated, or do you think they'll get beat?
My prediction right now is they're going to be 14-2 at the end of the year, and I actually have them in the Super Bowl with the New England Patriots, but I think I'm going to have to go with New England taking the win.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's talk Super Bowl then. Who you got?
I got New England Patriots. I think it's hard to not favor them in a Super Bowl matchup. Yes, Green Bay has a very good offense, But the defense for the Patriots, I mean, they've lost some key names, Brandon Browner, Darrell Revis, but they keep coming out with that front seven. Jabal Sheard, new acquisition. He's been lining up at outside linebacker and defensive end, and that front seven just keeps working wonders for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. I find it hard to take that away from them.
All right, thanks for your input there, Kyle. Thank you for joining us on Sports Talk Live this Tuesday afternoon. We'll see you back here next week.